Hello everyone, if you're new here, there's two things you should know about me. One, I like to review films, and secondly, I suffer with CFS, which is why I thought I would watch the film Unrest. The film itself is a fair, balanced film which doesn't really seem to care too much about gender. It just looks at the disease. I mean, yes, it does mention that women suffer more than men, and yes, it does pose the question, would doctors take the disease more seriously if more men had it? And from my experience, no, they wouldn't. I am a man, I have the disease, and from my experience, they would not have taken it any more seriously at all. Throughout this review, I'm going to find it hard to talk about the film without referring to myself, because obviously I suffer with the film and I can relate to almost everything in the film. But I'm going to try not to make it a video about myself and talk about the film. I think it was very well done, I think it was well put together. It was all done on like amateur cameras. It's like a documentary style thing, so it isn't like, you know, rehearsed takes or anything. Everything is real as it happens, raw footage, and you see it all as it happened. So the film follows the life of Jennifer Bree, who suffers with CFS. She had a normal life, and then one day she became ill and then never sort of got better, and she thought she was all alone in the world, and the doctors didn't really know what was wrong with her, and she had all the different tests. And this is exactly what happened to me. The doctors didn't know what was wrong with me. They thought I had this, they thought I had that. I've done videos about this, so I don't want to go too much in about it, but it was so relatable. And then they tried her on different medications and they didn't seem to work or made her worse, and again, exactly what I went through. And then the finding other people who have it, and that kind of makes you feel a bit better. That doesn't obviously cure the disease, it makes you feel less alone, and again, it's exactly what I went through. So in that regard, I find it very relatable. Some of the people in the film are obviously way worse than I am, but I could still relate to what they're saying and what they were going through, so I found it really good, an educational film. There's one lady in the film called Jessica, and she is way worse than I am. She's completely bedridden. But she said something in the film that I could totally relate to, where she says that she like travels the world in her mind, and she just goes places in her mind, and she talks about being under the sea of the fishes. And I found that really relatable. I was saying to my mum like only 1 or 2 weeks ago how the real world just doesn't feel real to me. If I'm kind of in a state of brain fog and I have no idea what's going on, the dreams feel like reality and reality feels like a dream. And it's kind of like this girl Jessica kind of was saying the same sort of thing, how she just imagines herself in the barrier reef in Australia. And it was just like the things like that I find are really interesting, the way that they just took all these details which, when I try to explain it to other people, they just don't get it, or they say, oh yeah, I get that, oh, don't really. But I found the film was very good at getting these points across, the same points that I've been saying for years, and people kind of just not understanding. I feel this film is quite good at making people understand. I feel if you didn't understand and you watch the film a bit more, you could understand it, because it has all the like the visual effects with it, and it has all the music and everything that goes with it, and the background commentary and the narration. And I feel as if it gets a point across more than what I've been able to do myself, to when I explain it to people. So I give it credit for that. And as I mentioned, it looks at the disease equally across gender. As I said, it does mention that women are more likely to suffer, and it does pose the question, would doctors have taken it more seriously? And I don't think they would have done. But apart from that, it treats everyone equally. It doesn't really care about gender. It focuses on the life of Jennifer and how she's going through, and then she reaches out to these people in other countries via Skype and methods like that to do video chats with them, and so they communicate via video messaging. And it also has a doctor in there who's talking about things and giving you some factual information about different things. They talk a little bit about mitochondria, and I was reading about that the other day, so that was all quite interesting. And they had a case in Denmark. I won't spoil that, but that's quite horrific what happened in Denmark. And you see how that comes about and concludes, and it's like an interesting story about people in other countries see CFS, because there are doctors, there are genuine doctors who believe it's in the mind. They actually think it's in the mind, even though there's so much evidence now to prove that it's a real thing. I mean, anyone that's got this condition will probably spend half their time looking at a computer, looking up, because you can't do much else, to be honest. If you're in bed all day, chances are you are going to go on the internet and you're going to look things up. Some are more interesting than others. They play around the idea of cures, and I've seen these videos on YouTube, and they explore this as well on the film, where all these people say, "No, I've cured my CFS. I do this and I do that." And it's like, I don't believe them. I've never believed them, and they kind of say all these videos are out there, but nah. I mean, things like healthy eating, stuff like that, being in a clean environment. I mean, these are all common sense things with general health anyway, but no, I've never believed these videos that say they can give you a cure. I saw one a long time ago. It's like blah 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 blah. Give us loads of money and we'll give you this miracle cure. It's just, they're just con artists. I don't believe it. You can never be fully cured. I found it quite emotional at times, because obviously I could relate so much to what everyone in the film was going on about, whether they're way worse than me or I'm worse than them. There are some people who weren't that bad, and other people who were like, I would just don't know how they survive. And talking about that, they talk about people that have killed themselves of this disease, and I can understand that. I can fully appreciate them wanting to end their life. They talked about they had whether or not someone with CFS would have children. I've concluded years ago I would never have children. I've made no secret about that. I simply would not have the energy to look after them, and I wouldn't want to risk my children contracting the disease. And they had a lady on there, and her daughter got the disease, and she said the worst day of her life was when her daughter was given the diagnosis. So that kind of just confirmed to me what I already knew. So it's quite sad in places. I think watching this, if you don't have the disease, you're going to have a completely different perspective on it to maybe someone who does have the disease. Obviously, I mean, I've been in bed all day. I mean, it's like now evening. I've just been resting. I haven't been sleeping all day, but I've been in bed all day, and I've been thinking, I really need to make this review. I need to make this review. I need to make this review. And I've only now just decided to get up and do it. So I've got a raging headache. So yeah, I mean, but the bit they had about people taking their own life, as I said, I can fully relate to it. Again, it's sad, but I mean, I can understand it. I mean, I've wondered about the pointlessness of carrying on sometimes, but I still do. Tried to make a difference in people's lives. So it is quite an emotional film. I think some people might get quite emotional about it. It's very well put together. It's very well done. It's cleverly put together. The way they take clips from all these people from all around the world and combine it into a story. So they have the stories of different people. They have the stories of the main person, Jennifer, and as I said, Jessica, and they've got some guys in there as well, and then they've got this person in Denmark, and then they've got the docs are giving you facts and different conflicting information, and the way it's all put together in a single narrative is quite well done. It's well edited. As I said, most of the clips are amateurish clips, people just videoing at home, so you don't always get like the flattering views that you might expect of a high budget film. But they've managed to take all these amateur clips and they've actually edited them together in quite a good, coherent way. So you've got to give them credit for that. I think it's a good film. I think people should watch it so they can understand it better. I mean, even today, I say to people I have CFS or ME or whatever you want to call it, and I still get asked questions, you know, what is that? And there's always going to be ignorance around it. And people just not understanding because they may have never heard of it. I mean, to me, it is my everyday existence, but I still encounter people that just simply don't know what it is, and they just their minds are blown when I tell them, and they just don't understand. So I think this film goes a long way to addressing that problem. I'm going to recommend that both my parents watch it. In fact, I've already said to them I think you should watch it. So, I mean, obviously, living with me, they kind of have a kind of perspective, but I still think it would be good if they see the whole thing. And I think anyone that knows anyone with CFS should watch the film. It would help them understand a bit more. And it's just a good film. It's just an emotional film. A lot of films that you see today, you know, they'll have happy endings. You know, you're so used to that now. Everyone being wrapped up in cotton wool. You know, the good guys win, the bad guys die. But in this film, there are no bad guys. The bad guys is a disease, and it's a disease with no cure, despite what many people on the internet may say. There is no cure, and it is real, despite what many doctors say. So I recommend people go and watch it. It is a good film. I've tried not to talk too much about myself. If you want, I put the link down in the description, and I'll also stick one in the comment section. I've made several videos about myself with CFS, so if you want, you can watch them. I've got loads of other things on here as well, but I don't talk about films or CFS, so check them out. If you like this, give me a thumbs up. If not, a thumbs down. Or you could just not give me a thumbs down if you don't like it and just leave it be. That's also cool. And subscribe if you want to see more. And I'll see you soon. Bye.